Okay, so let's start. Today, I would tell you a story. I would say the story behind the new data mode in SAP BusinessObjects BI 4.3, and followed by the demo where you will better understand what you can achieve with this new mode. I have more things to share with you, right? Bruno invited me about for unlocking the power of data preparation with SAP BusinessObjects BI 4.3. Of course, I will do a demo with these capabilities inside the BI 4.3. But what I wanted to share with you all today, to take a few times to share with you an updated release timeline and maintenance strategy for SAP BusinessObjects. I think this is valuable information, and this concerns the BI 4.3 as well as the next BI 2025, which I hope you're all waiting for. Okay, so let's start. This screen is a little bit annoying. Can I minimize it? Yes, here we go. So, unlocking the power of data preparation with SAP BusinessObjects BI 4.3. First of all, this is not a new capability. This is part of the BI 4.3 package that we have delivered. Well, it was almost 4 years ago with the BI 4.3 release. Being the Sales Pack 3 or Sales Pack 4, we had 3 objectives. The first one was to increase the productivity thanks to this new data mode, which is all about preview your data, understand your data, enrich and fix your data, combine your data. Second one was to extend the productivity to share whatever you do inside Web Intelligence, being in the data mode or directly into the design mode of your Web Intelligence. And last but not least, it was some cumulative things that I'm not going to mention today, because today I'm going to focus mostly on this increased productivity pillar thanks to the new data mode. So what does it mean? It means that we are injected into Web Intelligence a brand new capability that would say that transform Web Intelligence into a modern BI tool. Yes, today I claim Webi is a modern BI tool that can help your users, being business users, power users, to achieve their goal, whatever the goal here. They can acquire any data, being local data on their laptop, or corporate data behind a universe, or in SAP BW, SAP HANA, and even SAP DataSphere. Once they get the data, they can transform the data if they want to enrich and find other perspectives or not. This is an option, not a mandatory step. Once they get the right data and they have confidence in the data they are looking at, they can build visualizations, perform their analysis in order to take some decisions. And if they want to share the analysis and share the decision, we provide you the right framework to share and collaborate with teammates. So like I said, Webi is really a modern BI tool today. Starting BI 4.3, not 4.3 SP0, but let's be frank, SP4, and this will become even more true with the next BI 2025. So if you focus now on the topics, data acquisition, data transformation today. What it is? This is all about data management and how your user can access data. At the beginning of BusinessObjects, there was no data mode. There were just universes, the query panel to access your data, and the Web Intelligence design mode, which means that there was a bunch of IT people who were doing all the job. Let me use my laser pointer. And the job is structure the data, clean and complete the data set, create end user refined data set, create analysis, organize data into a dashboard or report, and finally share the report, the dashboard with the end users. Most of the tasks, let's say the 5 first that were done by the IT. So which means that there was a bottleneck, a strong bottleneck before that the end user receives the report. Another way, with the introduction of the BI analyst, which is a person, a BI analyst, which has all the power to do specific things. IT, most of the time, was the task for IT was to look at only how to structure the data, which means how to create the semantic layer and the universe. Then the BI analytics take over IT in order to perform, complete the dataset and clean the dataset, create the user dataset, create the analysis, create the report, the dashboard, and share it. That's the second way, incremental way to divide the work regarding BI. Lastly, and I think this is what companies are doing more or less today, we still have IT dedicated to the creation and the maintenance of the universes. We have the BI analyst who is taking care of creating the right data set for the end users, and end users want to create their own analysis on the data, organize data in a dashboard, and share with colleagues the result of their analysis. And this is not enough for them, because one step after each step, the bottleneck moves from the IT to the BI analyst being the next bottleneck for the end user. In a modern BI company, we want to really empower the end user. End user want to do all the tasks, clean the dataset and complete the corporate dataset, define the dataset they would like to share or use to create their analysis. And once they have the analysis, they can create the dashboard. And the last step, step number 4, where we can have IT taking care of the corporate data and end user performing all the tasks devoted to BI, because that's really BI what is doing, can now be achieved thanks to the BI 4.3 starting SP3 or SP4 data mode. And that's what we work on, and that's what we enable with the big data mode. This is really to let the end user accessing the data that he needs to create their analysis, being corporate data or local data set or local database that I'm sure you know what I mean by this. And now, thanks to this new data mode, this becomes even easier, because like you will see, you don't have to manipulate any SQL statement. You don't have to learn a lot how Web Intelligence is doing. We propose you a new graphical interface that will help you to achieve this goal, to prepare the dataset, preview, complete, put some trust in it before to share it, to do whatever you want. And to enable it, we did it in the following way. We propose you thanks to the data mode, a preview mode, where whatever the number of queries you have in Webby, they can preview the dataset and gain some trust in it. Let me check my, yes. Second thing, they can transform it. And by transform it, I mean they do not have to write some code. They can do it by simply click, do something, click, do another thing. And lastly, they can access different kind of data set, being universes or Excel, CSV file, text file, and merge them. This is more than merge. They can synchronize, they can decide which operator they would like to use to create the right data set easily. Even if they do not know what they are doing, they will see the result. And by doing and seeing, they can correct any mistakes they will perform by using these capabilities, sync or combine dataset capability. Okay, I think it's better to do via demo, right? Do not hesitate to interrupt me in the meantime if you have any question.
And I have just a question for the audience. I'm curious to know, out of the people that today are in 4.3, has anybody or is anybody today using the data mode in 4.3 or not? So I'm just curious to see if somebody's is using it today, and what their experience is on that. I've actually heard a couple customers using it, and they've all said great things about it. And they've said, you know, we've been waiting for that for so long. We really love it. So
Yeah, thanks for the feedback. Like I said, we transform Webby really into a modern BI tool. And what is great with this innovation is the fact that you do not need to go somewhere else. Everything fits into Web Intelligence. You don't have to use another tool and create some sharing capabilities or access something else. Everything fits into the same tool.
And I have a question for you. When it comes to, you were talking about DataSphere earlier, so essentially, so it integrates with DataSphere?
Integrate, well, I will not say integrate. We
Probably not the right one.
we can connect Web Intelligence to DataSpheres and get the data. Once you get the data into Web Intelligence, this will fit into the data mode, which means that you can do what I'm going to show you in a few seconds.
Okay, thank you, Gregor.
Okay, for this live demo, okay, this is something that I really should not show you. This is a mess because I have too many things open. I have to figure out where is my document. Oh, it is this one. Here we go. So by the way, I'm using a BI 4.3 Service Pack 4 for this demonstration. Last patch. And it works nicely. Can you see my screen?
We can see your screen.
Okay. So for this demo, I've created a simple document. So this is, first of all, I'm going to show you what you have on the screen. I have 4 queries in this document. The first query is query 1. This is all about the sales of a fictive company, eFashion, just to name it, for the year 2017 to 2019. The second query contains the same data, the same columns, but for the years 2020 to 2022. Then I have a query number 3, which is all about some description. I have some SKU number and the corresponding description in another query. And the query number 4 is a bunch of sales targets. So what I want to achieve is I have 4 queries and I want to create one data set that will contain the sales from 2017 to 2022, where I will see the descriptions corresponding to my SKU, plus next to my actual revenue, I want to see the targeted revenue that I had for the same data and the same SKU number. So what I want to do is I want to create one single data set for the 4 queries that I have on the screen here. So to access the data mode, because this is what I'm going to use to achieve this, data mode is, can I move this little bar here? Yes, here we go. To access it, drop down here and click on data mode. Here we go. You will enter the data mode. It will, at the beginning, look like this. Let me explain what you have on the screen. You have, let's say, roughly 3 parts. First, 3 parts. On the right, we have the classic list of available objects corresponding to each query. Sales 2017, 2019, here we go, etc., etc. You can expand it and look at the different objects bring back by the query. At the bottom, because this is the flow here, this area that you can maximize. In the flow, I can see that I have my first query is based on an eFashion universe. The second query is coming from HANA, eFashion HANA. Query number 3, which corresponds to my SKU number and SKU description, is coming from an Excel file, a local Excel file, and the last query is from a TXT file. If you want, I could have added a live HANA connection, DataSphere as well, and some other things. There is no limitation in terms of query you can bring into the flow, right? In average, what we saw based on the past survey we did several years ago, a Webby document contains 7 queries. 7 queries. This is in average. You can have more, and this is not important because the fact is, if you have 7 queries, you will see 7 queries here in the flow area. You can also have a look at each query individually. For example, you know how many rows this has bring into the web intelligence, the time of refresh for each query, and the last refresh date and time, right? This is the blue box here. And the yellow box corresponds something which is a technical representation of your query. We call this the cube, the initial web intelligence cube. And this is quite important because what we manipulate is a cube. We do not manipulate the original data coming from the database behind each query. We just do everything locally in the web intelligence cube. Okay, so you call this the flow. Next, at the top, we call this a preview mode. Preview mode is where you're going to gain confidence in your data. You can preview your data query one by one. As you can see, this will open a tab for each of my queries. And you can visualize them. This is not a preview mode because if you scroll down, depending on the amount of rows you're going to bring into web intelligence, if I scroll up and down, I will see the 5,105 rows. This is really all the rows contained in the web intelligence cube that you're going to look at. So which means that if you bring in a maybe 10,000 rows, 100,000 rows, 1 million rows, you will see them, but you will pay some price, which means that when you scroll down, you will get some latency. You will see the 3 dots refreshing, meaning that I'm searching the data corresponding to the position of this scroll bar here. So I can preview my data as a flat table. This is what I have here, or I can explore my data. And I think this is more important and more interesting for all of you. By exploring, I mean I can see the weight of each data, each row for each dimension. And to enable it, you just have to click on here on this mode because this is the exploration mode. And here we go. Now, this is the same data set. We display only the dimension. And for each dimension, we show you, we present to all of you every single occurrence for the dimension. For example, for the dimension year, we have the information 2019, and you have 2,384 rows corresponding to this information. Same thing to 2018, 2017. So this gives you a kind of weight that each data represent in your data set. You can decide to do a count for each dimension, or you can decide to display your data in a different way. This can be, instead of doing a count, you can decide to weight each row, for example, on your revenue, which is a measure of the data set number 1, sales 2017-2019. And in this case, if I do this, I can do a sort ascending, and it seems that the year 2018 was the most proficient one among all the years. So this is the way it works. And you can do it individually. So if I aggregate again by count, I see my data back to count. And I can do this for every dimension: line, category, SKU number, quarter, state, city. As you can see, this is really powerful, right? And if you display your data in the exploration mode, there is a second reason, right? Instead of just seeing the weight of every data set. For example, if I look at the second data set, sales 2020-2022, in iteration mode, quickly, I've noticed 2 differences in the data set. If I go back to the first one, this concerns the year dimension and the quarter dimension. Year is coded as a full year, as a digit with 4 numbers. Quarter is coded as Q1, Q2. But in the second data set, year is coded year space 2020 and quarter, okay, quarter is also, let me check. quarter is Q1 and Q2 as well. So it was not the case before, but never mind. Here we go. Oh yes, quarter is quarter space 1, quarter space 2, which is a difference. So we come another capability of this data mode, the possibility to transform and clean your data. And you will do it quite easily. So what I want to achieve is you want to align the definition of year dimension and the quarter dimension for both data sets. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove the year and followed by the space. To enable it, we have we call this quick action. You can, by default, transform the data as uppercase, lowercase, trim, which means cut your data, fill, replace some data by something else, group your data, and in my case, what is interesting is replace. I want to replace year followed by space by nothing, and click on OK. And done. Now year is coded 2020, 2021, and done. Same thing for quarter. I want to replace quarter followed by space by nothing. So I do it in the following way: quarter space, nothing. Sorry, this is not nothing. I made a mistake, but never mind. This is not important because every time you do something in this data mode, there is either you can do undo, or every time you apply a transformation on a data set, there is a small check box that you look in here. So if you select back this quarter information and display its properties here, the list of transformation are listed here. You see, replace quarter by. You can remove it, and this will undo what you have done previously. So now you can do again the right transformation action. So I want to replace quarter followed by space by a simple Q. Done. Here we go. So you can see every time you do something, you can either undo by clicking undo redo here, or access the objects that you have just transformed, access its properties. I'm going to do it, for example, for California. I want to transform all California, the state, in uppercase. Where is my state information is here. There is a small indicator that let me know that something has been done on this dimension. If I go in its properties, you can see that transformation applied uppercase for the dimension state. You can do multiple transformation if you want, and you can decide to remove the ones that you think useless or that are no longer important. Okay. Once you have done this, now that I have two data sets with the same number of columns, strictly identical, guess what? I will start to group them in order to create my unique data set. So to do that, it's pretty easy now. I select the first cube, I select the second cube, and synchronize. That's the name of this action. And when you decide to synchronize two cubes, you're going to create what we call a virtual cube. First of all, to enable the synchronization between two cubes, you can see that it has detected common columns thanks to the same name. You can choose the operator that you would like to apply. Operators sound technical, but guess what? It is not really technical. So just to let you know, you can do a left join, a full join, inner join, left outer join, or a full outer join, or you can just append cube. Append cube means I take the data of the cube number one and I add all the data at the end of the cube number two, or vice versa. And this is what I want to achieve here in this case. I want to do an append cube because I want all the data from the year 2017 to the 2022 in the same data set. You can give a name and you create. This will generate a new cube. And once again, this is the first cube and this is a virtual cube, which means the reason column is green. And every time you create a new cube or you decide to synchronize two cubes, the tool will open this cube in preview mode in order to preview the result. So, which means that whatever you do on the cube in terms of operator you choose, you immediately see the result. You don't have to go back and forth to see the result. The result, you will see it immediately. As a clue, now you can see that in this cube that I've created, this contains the year 2017 to the year 2022 and all the data. I have still 11 columns because this is not a left or a right join. This is just take cube number 2 and add it at the end of the cube number 1. And you have exactly the same rows. This is the sum of 5,000, etc., to 8,000 rows, etc., etc. So this is done. And I can go on and go on. So now I want to do, because in this cube have the SKU number here, and my SKU description is a cube number 3 here. So I'm going to take the virtual cube here and do another synchronization with this ID and description cube. Same step. Here, he has identified that you have the same key SKU number to be used. I want to do a left join. This could have been something else, but in this case, this is a left join. I can give another name. This can be, I will call it virtual cube 2, right? And then generate. And then create. And again, this will create a second virtual cube with all the corresponding data. But in this case, instead of 11 columns, I have 12 columns because in the virtual cube number 2 now, I have the SKU description synchronized with all the data, which is great because this is exactly what I want. Now I have all the data set with all my sales from the year 2017 to 2022. What is missing is the targeted, because that's the kind of analysis I want to perform, right? I want to see how great I was in doing my sales versus what was the target, the initial target, and calculate any deviations and take any actions. So guess what? I'm going to take the cube virtual number 2 here and do the same thing here with the sales target cube here. I'm going to synchronize it. In this case, I'm not going to do a left join. I'm going to take everything that I have in common, an inner join. I'm going to name this cube final cube, because really, this is what I want to share or what I want my user to use to create their report. Create. Okay, so now here we go. I have the year, I have the sales revenue, quantity, quarter, year, targeted sales is here. Next to the actual sales revenue, I still have my SKU description next to my SKU number, and all those information are present in my final cube.
This is really very easy to use, and that's the feedback I had. Gregory, I had a question from Martina. And
yes.
So Martina was saying, is it possible to merge these dimensions in easier was as today in kind of a union within the Webby?
Yes,
I have a case with same queries out of different universes.
Yeah, you can achieve that definitely. And this is even easier compared to the merge dimension capability, which by the way remain available. You still in the designer mode, you can do merge dimension. This feature is still there and remains there. But if you want to have a fine-grained control on the data you're going to synchronize, this is the tool that you have to use. This is the mode you have to use. Because here, when you do a merge dimension in design mode, what you do not know, what Webby is doing is a left join. Here, what you propose you is, of course, to do a left join, but you can choose what you want to do. But more importantly, every time you do something, you see the result. Seeing the result will help you to gain confidence that this is what I want to achieve and this is the step is right, and I can go to the next step, etc., etc. And like I said, if you are using multiple universes, you can. We don't care. Once again, if you have data coming from multiple universes, you will get multiple cubes here in yellow that you will be able to manipulate to create what I've done here. I hope I was clear.
And if it's not, Martina, just okay. So I think yeah. So she says great, and then she says I love Webby. We have another question from Rupa, and then she was actually referring 4 queries from different data source.
Yes. Excuse me. What was the question?
And that was Rupa. If you can be more specific, because you have 4 queries from a different data source. I think that question was asked earlier, so I'm not really sure what it refers to, unless you know, Gregory.
Yes. Well, in fact, 4 queries from different data sources here have a universe based on the Microsoft SQL database. Here, this is a universe based on HANA. Here, this is Excel and TXT. We do not care what is the data source behind the universe. The most important is if it is a universe, we can get the data in a cube here, we can manipulate it, and you can use the data model. I think that's the most things you have to take with you if you're interested by this data model. There is other things I would like to show you.
Yep.
Go ahead, please, Bruno.
No, go ahead, Gregory. So if Rupa, the question was not answered, please feel free to put another comment.
Yeah, please. You might have noticed that every time we are creating a green virtual cube, we are adding this virtual cube as a group of objects that you can use in the design mode. Today, if I enter the design mode right now, I will see exactly the same group of objects, but you will tell me, oh, this is a lot, because I have the group of objects coming from the original 4 queries. That's this one, this one, this one, and this one. Plus, I have the virtual cube that I've created, the final one, the virtual cube 2, and the cells, the first virtual cube. So this is not good, right? You don't want to expose this kind of, sorry, I'm going to use the word mess to your end user. You might want to add what is unnecessary to the end user. And you can achieve that simply by hiding the information which is not needed to be exposed to the end user or you do not want to share. So simply you select the original cube, you click on hide. Same thing for all. So I'm going to quickly hide the 4 original cube. Excellent. In some situation, you might want to keep visible the original cube. In some case, you might not want. You choose. This is an option once again. I want to hide also the 2 first virtual cube. And here we go. Now, if I look at my group of cube, you can see we have added 1 information, which means that all the objects of the original query are hidden, with the exception of the final cube. You can get a preview here. Only the final cube is visible because now I'm entering in the design mode. Now I see only the final cube. And this is what the end user should use. And this is more important. So my point is, in the data mode, you can control which group of objects, and even more specifically, which objects should be presented to your end user. Because here I've hidden, for example, all the objects of the first query. But if I want, this is even more powerful. You can decide, let me unhide it, show, sorry. I can be more specific. I can decide to hide, for example, so we have to move it again. I can decide to hide some specific objects of the original query and not all. This is really powerful. You decide, you have a full control on the group of objects or on specific objects. For example, here I decide to display the original sales 2017-2019, but not the objects discount. Okay, that's another capability you have in terms of control. Another thing you have, which is quite important for all of you, if you want to manipulate your data. For example, here, you can decide to change, or let's say, if I click on category here, where is it? It was here or here. For example, here, you can overwrite the sorry, what I want to do. Where is it? Sales target 4. Yes, category. Here we go. You can overwrite, and I don't know why I can't here. Because this is hidden. Okay, let me probably show it. Here you go. And you save. Here we go. You can overwrite the qualification of your objects directly in the data mode. For example, here's object is a dimension, but if you want to change it as a detail, or if you have an object which is qualified as a measure, but you want to make it a dimension, you can do it in the data mode as well, right? It's just a matter to click on here, make it measure, and you decide, for example, if it is the count, the aggregation, etc., etc. So like I said, this is very, very powerful. And once you have done that, idea is to share the result. And you have two ways to share it. The first one is really easy. You have done on the cleanup, you have hidden what is not necessary to be displayed. You have hide all the group of objects and objects that you don't want your business user to use. In a way, you have put a stamp on the final data set, which is really true and correspond to some reality. Now you want to share it. To share it, you just click on save, and you just have to click on create a new Webby document and use this Webby document as a data source. It's just Webby on Webby. You click Webby Tangents, create a new Webby document on a Webby document that contains this virtual final cube. So that's the way you can share it with your community. So the first one. The second one is even more powerful. If you want to use it with any third-party tool, you go back into the Webby data mode. You have created the final cube here. You click on, you go back here. You click on the final cube here, 3 dot, copy all data web service link. Which means that by doing this, I click on OK. All the data sets that you can see here on the screen, you can decide to use this kind of tool to use this OData URL to get the data, but into this Excel file, for example.
And can you refresh it, Gregory?
You can refresh it if you want. There is a parameter that will force the refresh of the Webby document. See in the Service Pack 4.
This is really nice because people will trust what gets out of Webby. And one thing that intrigues me is you were saying, hey, you can essentially do Webby on the top of Webby. So that means that you have a Webby that you consider as your, let's say, your North Star Webby, to put it this way. And let's say it's a central Webby, and then you've got different business units. So essentially people could create a Webby on the top of it for their own business unit without having to recreate everything. Is that the idea behind, Gregory?
Exactly. Once you have created the final cube and you want to share it, because the virtual cube that you have created is inside the Webby document, which means that all the other capabilities remain available. You can take it as a data source to create a Webby document on top of it, or you can decide to refresh it, right? Which means you can schedule it, and your end user can access it with an up-to-date data, or like I did it since the Service Pack 4, there is a specific option in order to, every time you could access this Webby document containing this dataset, you can force the refresh of your dataset. You can do it with a Webby document, but you can do it with Excel as well. So, for example, here, I just show you that you can load the virtual cubes that you have created directly into Excel. You're going to get the data into Excel.
That is really nice. Gregory, we have a question. You access HANA through Universe. Is there any reason not to query directly HANA for this merging scenario?
Because you want a virtual dataset being created. You're right. This is the point that I have to double check, because nevertheless, if you use a universe on top of HANA, or if you do a live connection to HANA, behind the scene, we create a cube. You do not know it, but behind the scene, we generate a universe on the fly, which is used to get the data from HANA. I use it this way. I have to double check that the live HANA query work as well.
And there was another question as well earlier. What is the difference between blue and yellow boxes? I think earlier.
I will come back to my screen.
Yep, we see your screen.
Yellow and blue. Blue is your query. If you click on the three dots, you can edit your query. For example, if I click on edit here, this will bring me back into the query panel. Okay?
Sure.
Blue is the query. Yellow is what Webby is getting from the query, the cube, the initial cube in Web Intelligence. Where here, what you can do is show hide, copies the original cube as a web service to be used in any third-party tool. And by the way, you can duplicate the original query by creating a child if you want. Oh yes, there is some extra capabilities you do not imagine. For example, in my case here, as I show you, if I edit the virtual cube in green, I'm synchronizing cube 2 by 2. But if you want, you can do it 3 by 3 as well. There is no limitation, right? It can be 4, it can be 3, it can be 2, and 5, 6. You can do it. You can do it.
Good. Yep. We have another question. From Michael. I assume accessing a no data link requires credentials. Does this support SAML authentication as well as all other authentication option when accessing a no data link?
Today, what you have to do is an enterprise credential, and we are working on the OData, necessary configuration to make it work to be SSO.
Okay, got it. And Michael, if you wish, on the side, just put a question or a comment. We're happy to show you how OData works. Sometimes we actually have done an internal video that I'd be happy to share with you if you wish. We got 5 more minutes, Gregory?
Yes, just to final one. So like I said here, when you click on hit, normally you will refresh. You are asking Excel, go and look for the latest version of the data in the Web Intelligence. What you can do also is to force the web document to be refreshed as well. There is a parameter to be used in the OData URL as well into Webby on top of Webby in order to refresh a cascading refresh, which means that if you hit refresh here, not only is the Excel will refresh, but the Web Intelligence will refresh itself against the database. I don't know if I'm clear. You refresh the data from the beginning to the end. This is an option. Okay, what I wanted to if you were happy with this demo and the data mode, maybe I would like to come back to this updated release timeline and maintenance strategy, because this is really important information.
Hey, just a quick one. I'll take that question from Dallas. It's always a good one. So, does data mode require a BI admin to revisit hardware sizing, or are there new CMC parameters that may need tuning?
If I'm right, for the CMC parameter, first of all, the data mode, we delivered the first version in BI 4.3 Series Pack 3. To use it in 4.3 Series Pack 3, there is a toggle that needs to be activated, right, in SP3. In SP4, the functionality data mode is available by default, nothing to do. If you want to use it, you have to enable the design mode to some end user, first of all. In terms of sizing, if you use it extensively, yes, you have to, for example, it would be better to add a new web intelligence processing server in the backend, but that's it more or less. Right? I do not expect many users, or frankly, if you want to enable this capability for every end user, yes, consider the sizing. Do a test. There is no rule behind this, right? And really, this depends of the size of the data, the size of the query your end user reuse in the Webby data mode, right? There is a difference between 5 queries of, let's say, 10,000 rows compared to 5 queries bringing several hundred thousand rows up to 1 million rows and use it as is to create this kind of data transformation, right? Once again, here there is some balance to be found in what you like to achieve and how you like to propose this capability to your end user. Until a certain extent, you can use your sizing as is. To reach the next step, to really enable it, to democratize this kind of capability, you have to do something. This is not free, right? I hope you will all agree with this statement.
Thank you, Gregory. If you want to cover the last part of it, time flies.
Yes, of course.
Thank you, Gregory. That is really good. Thank you.
Three big news. 3 big news. Okay, the first one, the new release date for BI 2025. This is no longer the 4 December 2024. The BI 2025 will be released March 12, 2025. So we have to postpone the release of the BI 25 by several weeks to finish and to stabilize and to test correctly this important release to all of you. I could have demo it today, but I do not want. We will do it the next quarter thanks to Wiiisdom and the events that they are preparing for all of you and for us. Code is almost complete. We are working on the test, making sure that this is top quality. Once again, March 12, 2025 is a new date for the BI 2025. Second thing, we extend the mainstream maintenance for BI for the tree. Before it was December 2025, you have 1 more year. The mainstream maintenance will end December 26. Second news. News number 3. We will not have P1 support anymore. No P1 support anymore. But at the end of the mainstream maintenance for BI for the tree, and also at the end of the mainstream maintenance for BI 2025, BI 2027, and we all hope BI 29, we will have a new customer-specific maintenance, CSM period, which has no end date. Something.
Got it. Gregory, I see, if I look after BI 2025, so you're saying there's no more P1, and after that, I see like a little gray box. Is it also, you're still going to do like security fixes there, or?
Yes, only the first year after the end of the mainstream maintenance.
Okay, fair enough. So let's say there is a Log4j, after the mainstream, essentially there during 1 year, you would make a release or you would make a fix for that.
Yes, because this CVSS score
Right.
or equal to 7. This corresponds to very high and high security.
For CVEs over 7, so that's typically is the standard. So I think for most customers, this is actually pretty good because I know there was a lot of concern with the end of P1 support, but if you're doing things like for a year in terms of the CVs, that covers a lot of the issues because that answers a lot of the problems. So that's very good. Okay, I understand that. Okay.
Okay. So that's all I wanted to share with you. It takes more time than I was expecting, but I think you are all up to date. And next time, maybe we will talk all together. Will be about the great BI 2025, and have really great things to share with you all.